result of men's free choice of the pathway of retrogression, which leadeth to oblivion as far as their residence on this planet be concerned. These retrogressives cannot exist in the new world now being created. A failure to bring about the establishing of this long-heralded kingdom of heaven on earth cannot be even remotely considered. Thy master said, My kingdom is not of this world. Yea, but was it not also writ, Behold, I make all things new? A new heaven and a new earth, wherein shall dwell righteousness. This be his promise. It be now in process of fulfillment. Think ye the Creator, whom the most ignorant concede hath power to intelligently construct the globe ye now inhabit, be not able to reconstruct it to conform with a program designed to give a regenerated human race 24.
Clock, Cotton, Suppose, Matter, Thomas.
The proper environment wherein to utilize newly apprehended forces requiring new conditions for their manifestation. The concluding contortions of terrestrial readjustments occur, ye may expect entirely unrelated, sporadic exhibitions by nature, releasing long repressed accumulations of force sufficient to disrupt a mountain, flood a desert, sink a country or raise a continent. Not in a haphazard or irrational manner will these startling transpositions take place. They will follow a detailed plan of procedure whereby those areas best suited to the development of New Age projects will be spared or changed to render them fit for greater service to future inhabitants. Any dissertation on future events must be received according to the knowledge and faith of the reader. A statement may be utter nonsense to thee today, yet a month hence appear in quite a different light. Let tolerance tincture thy criticism of aught which seemeth to verge on the fantastic. If ye are to be advised of miracles to be achieved during the coming months, then must ye admit to thy minds new concepts of nature's part in this metamorphosis. A plethora of cleverly concocted substitutes for nature's originally perfect provision of foods containing all elements needful for man's sustenance have flooded thy markets. When correctly compounded by sincere scientists, we do not condemn their rightful use. Yet hath it deprived nature of a responsibility she will again assume when changing conditions renew the impoverished soil upon which she hath been forced to depend for essential ingredients to instill life-giving and preserving elements into the matchless array of edibles she doth produce. Be not fearful lest the earth be denuded of its fields of golden grain, its wealth of fruit-laden trees, its vineyards of luscious grapes, its expanses of greenest verdure producing all the vegetables one could desire. These and countless other bounteous provisions for the temporal needs of all God's little children of the earth shall thrive in the freshly vitalized ground which shall respond to nature's alchemy. I have spoken. So be it. 25.
Cotton.
Greetings from your friends of Station Share. Would that I might personally greet each one of you openly avowed friends and express our appreciation of their kindly acceptance of the presence of those of us who come from outer space to aid the dwellers on the planet. Shan. However, since these friends now number so great a multitude and since time is of the essence of our present mission, we, spacemen, must confine our contacts to those occasions when something may be achieved which will in some way forward our objectives. But I wish to make it clear to you that every new friend we acquire makes our mission a little easier and more effective. It is not our purpose, as you have been advised, to pounce down upon you, as it were, and intrude on your affairs in a thoroughly discourteous manner. Only in cases of unwarranted abuse of your newly discovered destructive powers will we feel justified in exercising our superior forces to circumvent their action, seeing it would jeopardize not only your own planet but many dwelling beyond the range of your vision. Other than this, our assistance will be supplementary. When, through the dismissal of vagrant entities not entitled to the hospitality of your planet, we are able to mingle freely with you and give you our willing aid in revitalizing, beautifying and rendering your entire globe more tenable by progressive mortals. We can then express in practical and visible ways our respect and admiration for those willing and eager to lend a hand in the transformation which is surely coming to the planet Shan. Our sincere interest, sympathy and love to our friends and those who soon will become our friends. ASHTAR, Commandant. Vela Quadra Sector, Station Share. 26. C. HAPTER 7. Greetings to our friends on the planet Shan from spacemen stationed at headquarters on our base Share. There are a few suggestions I would like to make, in part to answer many inquiries by those serious in their wish to be of service in establishing the incoming kingdom of heaven on earth, and, therefore, desirous of giving us assistance in our initial efforts to awaken your people to the present peril. While the cleansing process is unavoidable, as you well know, before a more perfect system can be evolved, there are many ways by which the discomforts and inconveniences of such a clearance of offensive debris can be lessened. Whereas, in certain sections of the globe, nothing but a complete sweeping away of every vestige of ancient abominations and their residue will serve the purpose. There are countless instances where a determined effort by individuals, groups and organizations to raise their standards in conformity with well-known principles of New Age living would obviate the necessity for such drastic measures. Consider for a moment, if you will, the reasons for this type of disastrous occurrences. Your own history furnishes any number of examples of corruption which led to the downfall of nations or their burial in the ocean depths. Has virtuous and humane conduct ever been known to wreck a civilization? We are nearing the season when the people of this nation observe a day of Thanksgiving. It would appear to be an appropriate time to consider the blessings for which there is reason to be thankful. They consist of a vast array of material possessions which add to your comfort and pleasures in varying degrees. No country in the world has more abundant cause for gratitude to the giver of all good gifts. And yet, observing the thought streams ascending from the mass mind of humanity, we find a great 27. C. HAPTER 7. Greetings to our friends on the planet Shan from spacemen stationed at headquarters on our base Share. There are a few suggestions I would like to make, in part to answer many in our base Share. There are a few suggestions I would like to make, in part to answer many inquiries by those serious in their wish to be of service in establishing the incoming kingdom of heaven on earth, and, therefore, desirous of giving us assistance in our initial efforts to awaken your people to the present peril. While the cleansing process is unavoidable, as you well know, before a more perfect system can be evolved, there are many ways by which the discomforts and inconveniences of such a clearance of offensive debris can be lessened. Whereas, while the cleansing process is unavoidable, as you well know, before a more perfect system can be evolved, there are many ways by which the discomforts and inconveniences of such a clearance of offensive debris can be lessened. Whereas, in certain sections of the globe, nothing but a complete sweeping away of every vestige of ancient abominations and their residue will serve the purpose. There are countless instances where a determined effort by individuals, groups and organizations to raise their standards in conformity with well-known principles of New Age living would obviate the necessity for such drastic measures. Consider for a moment, if you will, the reasons for this type of disastrous occurrences. Your own history furnishes any number of examples of corruption which led to the downfall of nations or their burial in the ocean depths. Has virtuous and humane conduct ever been known to wreck a civilization? We are nearing the season when the people of this nation observe a day of Thanksgiving. It would appear to be an appropriate time to consider the blessings for which there is reason to be thankful. They consist of a vast array of material possessions which add to your comfort and pleasures in varying degrees. No country in the world has more abundant cause for gratitude to the giver of all good gifts. And yet, observing the thought streams ascending from the mass mind of humanity, we find a great 27. Preponderance of dissatisfaction discoloring even the prayers of the people. True gratitude, where may it be found? You rise up in protest saying, how can we give thanks for all the terrible things which are being brought to light? The treachery, dishonesty, deceit and disloyalty to all which is right and just. Tell us that. Why ask so inane a question? No one is asking you to say you are thankful for things of that sort. But have you thought to thank your Heavenly Father that they are being brought to light? To thank Him you are being shown so clearly the evils which must be abolished. Do you recall learning the multiplication table? What has that to do with world conditions? I will tell you. It has never been denied that 5 and 5 make 10. Or that 5 times 10 equals 50. These are facts accepted in every country under the sun. On other planets also. You start with 1, then you build up by addition or multiplication to 100, 1,000, a million. And on up. My suggestion is that you start with 1. Yourself. 4 of our spacemen will join you in thanking God for your freedom to think and act honorably, truthfully, justly, loyally. Other mortals will join you, and with each one there comes the added force from our side. Fourfold. No doubt, you and many others have done this, not realizing quite how much it meant in the conflict now going on. We have traversed the length and breadth of this and other lands. We have found multitudes of fine, upright, generous-minded people. We have taken account of every one of them. We have watched them at home, in business, at work, at play, in fortune, in misfortune, in peaceful times, when disaster strikes. At all times they are calm, resourceful, lending courage and strength to the weak and fearful. We know thousands upon thousands of such men, women and children. We thank God for them. Were your whole world peopled with persons like them, what a Thanksgiving Day there would be. Some think of us as destroyers. Just sit down quietly for a few moments and think of all the things that make you anxious, afraid, unhappy, sorrowful. These are the things we have come to destroy. They have thrown everything out of balance, off their proper orbit. Yes, I mean physical things. The weather, the ocean tides, the air you breathe, the food 28. You eat, the very earth on which you walk. They have affected all human relationships, business, government, commerce, society in general. They are the intangibles which permeate all existence and either destroy or create according to their character. You know their names quite well. Closing parenthesis. This coming Thanksgiving Day we from out of space join you in praising a beneficent Heavenly Father and His beloved Son for every true, every beautiful creation of His which has not been distorted and rendered vicious by man's misuse. We join you in thanking Him that where you are caught in a trap and are not able to put into practice those good impulses and purposes you feel so strongly, He is sending mighty forces to your rescue. We join you in thanking Him that when this sad and distressful season of cleansing is over, we may confidently anticipate a joyous time of rebuilding, remodeling, recreating all things on this earth in perfect harmony and accord with the design and infinitely wise specifications of the Master, Architect of the universe. To this glorious and sublime end we pledge our hearts, our minds and every power and skill we possess, till our sacred mission is completed. We thank God our mutual success is assured and we shall see our beloved Master, the Christ of God crowned King of Kings. Unto Him be honor, praise and glory now and forevermore. ASHTAR and his associates from Venus and neighboring planets in loving cooperation with all friends on the planet Shan. A simple word of warmest greeting to all my friends whom I reach through this contact point. I join with you in honoring one who almost 2 millenniums ago, as you reckon time, humbled himself and entered an earthly existence as an ordinary mortal. Needless to comment that I had known him previous to this incarnation and had held him in deepest reverence and adoration. How it was possible for any man, woman or child 29 to become acquainted with him and fail to give him the warmest devotion of their hearts is a mystery too deep for me to fathom. And so today, it is with joy in my own heart that I behold the ever-widening array of those who truly worship him, whatever their own particular form of religious observance may be. Our forces on share will join you with one accord as you endeavor to give expression to the honor due him. May you be granted a new and glorified vision of his majestic grandeur and absolute simplicity of speech and bearing, and oh, that you might know the depth of his compassion for the erring children of the planet Shan. To you who love him, I can only say, did you but know him as I do, you would love him more. Much more. To all my friends, a merry and a holy Christmas. My love. Signed ASHTAR. 30. C. HAPTER 8. A New Year greeting, to all who have accepted my friendship, offered in a true spirit of fellowship. While in a sense each morning marks the beginning of a new day. Yet, as this last year has sounded the death knell of an era disastrous to the welfare and happiness of mankind in many ways, so the new year just dawning promises an epoch of unparalleled enlightenment and opportunity for mankind to recoup his losses suffered through ignorance, or willful and deliberate substitution of man's base desires and destructive will for the divine will and perfect plan of God, his creator. Wearily have the days dragged by, while plots and counterplots complicated and multiplied man's unsolvable problems. We have watched with a horror impossible to repress, man's ineffectual attempts to extricate himself from the treacherous quicksands of deceptive agreements accepted in apparent good faith, only to be ruthlessly trampled underfoot when their evil purpose has been achieved. Why do we say the tide has now turned? Because all mankind, enslaved or still capable of recovering their lost heritage of freedom, begin to see for themselves the enormity of their folly in transgressing laws all powerful to promote their personal progress and consequent possession of all they most earnestly need and desire. When will man cease his ridiculous attempts to obstruct the orderly processes of progressive development as set in motion at the commencement of his sojourn on the planet Shan? The answer is absurdly simple. When he acknowledges to himself that his puny brain and unruly impulses constitute no reliable guide to the acquisition of those tangible and intangible assets without which he cannot hope to escape a most terrifying fate. Might we, whom you have named, spacemen, share with you the actual, provable facts we have been able to discover by experiment and 31. Experience in taking precisely the opposite course of action to that followed by the majority of Earth dwellers. Not but what there have been numerous rash attempts made by incautious believers in divine intelligence, wisdom and creative ingenuity to align their lives with this supreme triumvirate. But to what avail? Mankind in general would have none of them. Their fate is all too well known to you. Shall we share that fate? No. It is our avowed intention to acquaint you with the results obtained through the consistent and persistent use in a constructive way of the very forces you have used to destroy everything good and beautiful, and now insanely plan to employ to commit suicide on a global scale. Our homes are built to provide comforts quite beyond your dreams of luxury unattainable. Their care is a delight, for there is no drudgery. Entertaining guests is robbed of all its problems save the pleasure of devising fresh plans for their enjoyment. I might add they enter into all such plans with zest. All our educational facilities are entirely free, and so varied are the branches of study and practical application that no student has ever failed to find precisely the type of instruction best suited to his particular bent and ability. Prisons, reform schools, institutes for the insane, yes, even hospitals are unknown. They would be unoccupied. Have these and innumerable other wonders come about through some sort of magic? By no means. We have worked them out. Where did we get our instructions? From the selfsame source which is available to you. I will tell you more should you care to know. My love. ASHTAR. 32. C. HAPTER 9. Ere we proceed with other aspects of New Age progress, we will spend a little time considering the necessary changes to be made in the habits of a majority of mortals, so that they may make the best possible use of new forces released for their benefit. We will liken the physical body of man to a plant which doth draw to itself and absorb into its growing organism the precise elements vital to its expanding life principle. If it doth fail to contact what it needeth in its quest for self-expression, it doth soon sicken and die. As of the time of this writing, January 1955, Earth's atmospheric envelope be impregnated with many deleterious elements inimical to the health and development of any human body, particularly one delicately attuned to high vibrational frequencies. Such an one must be constantly safeguarded against these infringing constituents of the very air they must breathe to sustain life. Not alone the air but the seldom recognized subversive thought streams, betimes well nigh flood the mental atmosphere and drown out the more sensitive upward-reaching tendrils of hope and faith. To counteract these and other dangerous deterrents to man's wholesome life, both physical and spiritual, certain purifying processes be constantly employed by the invisible guardians of the planet, else would ye perish. Ye have observed what ye call an electric storm, with its pyrotechnical display of lightning, and have noted the ensuing freshening of the atmosphere, making it a pleasure to draw in deep draughts of purified air. This be but one of countless artifices contrived to lessen the dangers lurking in the ether about thee. Other threats to thy health of body and mind, for they be woven together like the woof and warp of a fabric, be not so easily apprehended. But this we would indelibly impress upon thy minds. A perfect provision hath been made for thine every need under any and all circumstances. Even in this transition period when ye do encounter many unaccustomed 33 difficulties, ye have but to ask for divine assistance to do the will of the Heavenly Father, and, often in strange and unexpected ways, help will come. Refuse to accept the ultimatum of discouragement and defeat urged upon thee by evil forces rampant at this time. Pin thy faith to the redemptive forces sent of thy Heavenly Father to rescue thee from thy perilous position. As an airplane doth utilize the fuel provided to furnish the power it must have, that it may soar far above the sordid environment of a material world, so do thou avail thyself of the means provided for thy flight into the pure atmosphere of divine replenishment. Once thou hast contacted these currents of cosmic energy penetrating with ever-increasing potency the finer, etheric life force all about thee, no heavy, clogging earth vibrations can hold thee in thraldom to disease of body, mind or spirit. Until the day of the great illumination, there will unavoidably be a struggle to attain and maintain at all times content and perfect attunement with this divine source of life and love triumphant. Yet, herein doth lie thy freedom from the fretting exigencies arising from incessant friction twixt the fast-proceeding customs and systems of a decadent and expiring age and that glorious new age of unexplored marvels along every line of constructive and progressive effort. Entirely new and fascinating possibilities beckon the dauntless explorer qualified to be the recipient of astounding new inspirations and powers ready and waiting to be bestowed upon him, after the necessary cleansing of thy planet be concluded, permitting the full influx of marvelous dynamics hitherto undreamed of by the most imaginative of scientists. Greetings from outer space. A further word of information for those eager to hear of a state of development not yet reached by your most venturesome and fearless explorers into the vast universe of inexhaustible possibilities along every line of progressive evolution. We would make it clear at the outset that we are not seeking to convert you to any formula of religious concept, other than the simplest precepts 34. Laid down by the Divine Master, the Christ of God. Many of these same principles were enunciated by inspired men, saints and seers, sent of God down through the ages. When the people of Shan refused to accept their teachings and put them into practice, they left your earth and transferred their efforts to more receptive minds and hearts on other planes and planets. Whether you choose to accept my statement or not, it is a fact that there are no closed doors between those who temporarily reside on any plane or planet, unless through sheer stupidity, ignorance or absurd and unfounded fear you yourselves close and lock the door. Quite true, the open doorway must always be guarded by strong forces to prevent the entrance of unwelcome visitors. As you know, these guards are provided on request. But to return to the more practical aspects of progressed living conditions as enjoyed by the citizens of Venus, and similarly enlightened planets. As the entire environment and the atmosphere itself has become saturated with thoughts and emotional vibrations conducive to clear mental concepts and high ideals, you can easily understand that our problems of behavior are practically non-existent or, at least, reduced to a minimum. No one on any level of mortal existence, and we are mortals in a very real sense, enjoys being looked down upon by his fellows. Even a criminal aspires to be a sort of super-criminal. Thus it is that having established certain codes of honor in our everyday living and finding it a definitely enjoyable way of life, it seldom occurs to the youth of our planet to look for their pleasure in unprofitable pursuits. Actually, they are too busy seeking to excel in their own chosen profession or avocation. Frequent tests are held. You would, perhaps, call them fairs, where many exhibits are on display and trophies awarded for unusual skill, originality and dexterity demonstrated mechanically, artistically, mentally or along any line of constructive effort to reach a high and ever higher goal of perfection, with suitable recognition of each evidence of progress made, often works wonders with those inclined to lag behind. We keep a personal televised record of the progress of every 35 student enrolled in our schools. Thus, they compete with their own past achievements, as well as with others in approximately the same category. With what you term the younger generation, reared in this manner, you will readily comprehend the way in which they are enabled to apply the principles and utilize the essential etheric properties contained in the supercharged magnetic orbit which surrounds our home planet. An absurd theory exists in the minds of some Earth people. We have observed that the type of existence we have attained must be slightly insipid and monotonous. Nothing could be farther from the truth. Our lives are fairly teeming with ever-expanding interest and activities. You have a trifling example of my meaning in the constant improvements made in your automobiles and household appliances. Even their method of propulsion is constantly subject to revision. Then, why doubt or wonder that, on a planet where war has long since been abolished and all diabolically destructive practices are unknown, we have evolved a system of self-government which fosters individual initiative, contributing to an overall plan whereby each community forms a perfectly coordinating unit in an ever-progressing planet of magnificent achievement and surpassing beauty. Our knowledge, our skill, our equipment and power to use it, all are at your service as you prove yourselves willing to learn and abide by cosmic laws which we obey. In the name of our beloved Commander-in-Chief, Jesus Christ, we bless you and give you our love. ASHTAR. And his men of might. 36. C. HAPTER 10. A word of counsel, from one in authority. My word this day pertains to a subject of major importance, namely, the mission of what ye have erroneously called flying saucers, and their occupants. Our desire is to have them recognized as speedily as possible as direct emissaries from more advanced planets, coming at the behest of an hierarchy governing this entire universe, therefore, responsible for the continued existence of the more worthy specimens of the human race living on the planet Shan. The Earth. By reason of gross stupidity and ignorance of their superior powers, men have cast a pall of doubt and distrust about this entire controversy over the reality and purpose of these men from outer space. Since they be not subject to the whims of any who would capture, imprison and condemn them to torture in a vain attempt to force them to divulge their secret source of power, they cannot and will not be balked in their mission. Ashtar will reveal further details of their heaven-appointed mission to mankind at his discretion. I have spoken. Amen. So be it. Greetings from ASHTAR and his flying legions. Before writing a short resume of what we have to accomplish within a very short time, I wish to make doubly sure that everyone reading my statements shall thoroughly understand and accept my sworn affidavit that we, men, have nothing, absolutely nothing, to gain personally by this 37.
Hello.
Tedious and difficult task to which we have dedicated ourselves for as long as it may take to bring it to a successful conclusion. Our only reward will be the satisfaction anyone feels in achieving a praiseworthy goal. Perhaps I should add, the supreme pleasure of knowing we have played honorably our role in the forthcoming illumination of this entire globe, that your master may assume his sovereignship over a world completely renovated and restored to its original beauty, and even more than that, as men comprehend their privileges in the new regime we shall assist in bringing into operation. Is it not to your advantage to accept our aid? To augment and amplify our efforts, some very fine, brilliant men are doing this very thing. This gives us the incentive we need to continue our attempts to gain the confidence and cooperation of all persons of intelligence and integrity. The method I am employing at the moment may merely arouse your curiosity. But we feel it will take the widest possible variety of manifestations to converge and provide proof sufficiently convincing to permit us to carry out our plans without devastating interference. Devastating not to us but to the very ones we are sent to rescue. Much as we would like to tell you otherwise, truth compels us to warn you the situation is serious. Be logical. Be courageous. Above all, obey one of nature's most insistent laws, the law of self-preservation. We are here to help. Give us a hand, won't you? My love. ASHTAR 38. C. HAPTER 11. A definite change has come over the minds and hearts of many people in this and, to a lesser extent, other countries. Where, heretofore they viewed the appearance of ourselves in our spaceships in the light of a curious phenomenon to be regarded with suspicion or shrugged off as irrelevant to current affairs, they are now seriously weighing our possible involvement in any coming conflict. I am taking this means to advise you that most assuredly we shall intervene to protect this or any country on the planet Shan which places its trust in God Almighty and His Son who is His personal representative on this globe. We have been asked to explain the type of cooperation we ask of you. The following suggestions may furnish a clue to our needs. Others will occur to you as you ponder upon the situation in your locality. Acquire as much information as possible from all reliable sources, refusing to give credence to any doubts cast upon our sincerity and our ability to carry out orders we receive from our Commander-in-Chief. Without being obtrusively insistent, pass on such information through every channel open to you. It is imperative that the public be alerted to our presence and its purpose. We might remark that treating it as news, rather than placing it in a religious category, would avoid disapproval in some quarters. Use the telephone, private correspondence and casual conversations with friends, or even strangers, to promote a wholesome interest in the subject. Tactfully leaving the impression that to deny our existence or doubt our friendly purpose is out of date. Encourage the forming of space clubs or small groups to meet at stated intervals for discussion of the latest news available. 39.
Principle. Fog.
Stress the fact that our first urgent objective must be the removal of the causes necessitating illegitimate use of newly apprehended forces capable of completely disintegrating this planet and doing irreparable damage to all forms of living substance in close proximity thereto. We know the extremity reached in the downward course of power-crazed potentates. Under no other circumstances would we have been entreated to undertake our present mission or empowered to intervene and prevent the extermination of the inhabitants of Shan. As the opportunity occurs, let your friends know we do not come as adventurers seeking excitement, nor as scientists in quest of fresh knowledge. What could we learn in your laboratories with their passe equipment, or what satisfaction find in the hurly-burly of senseless clashes in mental or physical arenas of action? Perhaps it would be well to again emphasize the fact that your inmost thoughts and desires, as well as your acts, create either a very real barrier, or point of contact, according as you reject our way of life based on the true Christ principles or harmonize with our concept of constructive and progressive living. We have passed through a long and tedious process of reappraisal and re-evaluation of all life has to offer in the final analysis, since first we were favored with wise and patient teachers from outer space.
Growth.
Christ principles or harmonize with our concept of constructive and progressive living. We have passed through a long and tedious process of reappraisal and re-evaluation of all life has to offer in the final analysis, since first we were favored with wise and patient teachers from outer space. What they did for us ages ago, we now offer to do for you. It is against every tenet in our code of honor to attempt to force you to accept our services in the capacity of teachers. Yet this I can promise in all sincerity. Should our offer of genuine, practical assistance be welcome and the necessary preliminary steps be taken, we can and will joyfully pass on to you the knowledge we possess. Not only will we do this, but we will loan you many of our most expert and experienced teachers in every branch of art and industry to initiate you into the secrets we have tried out and proven 100% effective in creating a world of incredible beauty and endless delight. Until you have attained some reasonable concept of such a planet and such a life, I fear it would be unwise to extend to you an invitation to visit us in my home on Venus. 40. My love. ASHTAR 41. C. HAPTER 12. A letter to you. From SCHARE. We will continue our description of life on Venus, as a fitting prelude to our well-earned privilege of serving in our present capacity. Not technically designated as teachers, but more in the role of elder brothers, guiding, encouraging and commending any forward step, as our comrades of Earth fall into line with our steady march toward our goal. The acceptance of our beloved Commander-in-Chief, Jesus Christ, as ruler of Shan, planet Earth. Until he mounts his rightful throne of power and glory, and is accepted by mankind in a true spirit of loyalty and devotion, we are bound by our sacred word of honor to serve in any way which will speed that denouement. Let us, then, proceed to our task of enlightening our friends on Shan as to some aspects of our accustomed mode of home life, which has afforded us a maximum of physical delight. My scribe questions that term, but we do enjoy the sensory pleasures which you fear lost as you make the transition into what you have named the fourth dimension. True, it takes a little preparation to enter into this higher vibrational environment and participate to the fullest extent in the rare privileges which are ours. However, I assure you without equivocation our joy in the satisfying of every desire, since we have learned the secret of desiring only what is for our highest good, goes so far beyond anything you have experienced in your present earth life that we are at a loss to know how to employ phrases strong enough to make it real to you. When you hear the full, complete harmony of a celestial orchestra or the crystal clear tones of a heart-stirring melody sung by one you regard as angelic. When a fragrance of unforgettable sweetness is wafted to you from you know not where. When a mental vision is reflected from some entrancing beauty spot, perhaps on Venus itself, when there surges through your entire being ecstasy which sets your heart aglow with love for 42.
Rice. Notice.
Every creature, for every growing thing from tiniest blossom to towering monarch of the forest, for every mortal who worships the great creator. When you enjoy the full flavor of a delectable contribution to your daily repast direct from nature's matchless storehouse of edibles unspoiled by man's tampering processes. Have you not had a tantalizing foretaste of the sensory pleasures which many earth people imagine they must forego upon leaving their earth home, which has yielded them all too scanty a portion of genuine pleasure? Yet it is an undeniable fact that we retain, in amplified, intensified form suited to our more sensitized capacity for enjoyment, all you have found truly pleasurable in your material existence, as you call it. We hear and are especially susceptible to aromas, though we have none offensive to our sensitive nostrils. We have clarity of vision, extending to realms hidden from your eyes, no matter how expert your oculist may be. Our sense of touch is delicately adjusted to objects cast in a more etheric mold than those you encounter, and more easily shattered. In fact, they may be altered or even obliterated by the power of thought alone, which might be considered a desirable achievement in the case of decrepit bits of furnishings I have observed, especially in what you name your attics. Please, I have the greatest possible respect and admiration for anyone who makes the best of their possessions, however crude. But I was thinking of what you often refer to as trash kept about for no good reason. I heartily concur in C.N.'s advice to streamline your possessions. I have not touched upon the more spiritual aspects of our lives, which to us are precious beyond all else. Our lives abound in an ever-expanding appreciation of blessings accruing from a free expression of our highest aspirations. We shall try to take you further into our confidence and our plans for your happiness when next we chat with you. Until then, my love and my warm
Plenty. Search.